it's the end of the month, and you all know what that means. This is a good, bad movie review via the middle class holes. We've done a full circle between myself, Alan, and Murr, and we're back to myself here. And I'm going to give you my good, bad movie review of the month, and you two can dissect it, talk about it any way you want. Murr gave me the skinny, he said he watched it, said it's still bad, but you be the judge. 1991, and I hate to say it, like, I always refer back to the Rotten Tomatoes percentage. Not that that's an ultimate criteria of a good, bad movie.
I think it's now. I think it is an ultimate criteria now. I think that's the landmark that we all have to judge things on.
Yeah, that's kind of the standard.
I mean, okay, a 13 on Rotten Tomatoes. The 1991 comedy, dare I say, classic, Nothing But Trouble, starring Dan Aykroyd, Chevy Chase, John Candy, Demi Moore, Peter Aykroyd, and then a handful of other people. So, Chevy Chase and Demi Moore, they get lost going through the mean streets of New Jersey. Chevy Chase decides to take a back road, winds up in Judge Alvin J.P. Hulkenstein's property, and then it turns into a funny farm, madhouse type of situation.
I have a question.
Yeah.
When was the last time you watched it? I know you're reviewing
like about
it
5 years ago.
Okay. All right. See, okay. All right.
Why?
Okay. Because I just watched it, like, literally, like, 2 days ago.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the craze. Okay. So the judge is corrupt. He's got a dick for a nose. He wants he's holding them hostage for, like, damages that had been done to the property, or damages that he felt that the state of New Jersey owed to the family. You're shaking your head here.
I wish there was a reason he was holding them. It's just that there is no through line plot that makes any kind of relevant sense to each other through the whole thing.
They couldn't get away. They couldn't get away. John Candy, the who plays two characters, was holding them. Then you got all these slides, stabbing instruments that could kill him. The judge, who's an organ player. Come on, man. Come on. Bobo and Little Devil, and one of which was played by Dan Aykroyd.
You know, all the classic ingredients for a comedy.
You betcha.
I genuinely think that this movie was made solely so Chevy Chase would have an opportunity to make out with Demi Moore. I think that's the only reason that this thing was fucking greenlit and put to film. There was a complete waste of John Candy's talent. He plays like the straight man in the movie, besides playing the female counterpart, his twin sister or whatever, who's a mute, by the way. And I think the only reason that they made her a mute in the movie is because they didn't know how to technically, like, add in, like, John Candy talking to John Candy. So it's like, she's a mute. So she can't speak.
Didn't want John Candy to speak as a woman. Well, yeah. It's so first of all, it's Judge Alvin J.P. Volkenheiser, who also Aykroyd also plays Bobo from the out too, like the weird subhumanoid type with the, like,
baby monsters
that they have outside that Demi Moore wins the trust of, that ultimately helps them escape. Another point that I'd like to bring up, aside from the fact that Brian Doyle Murray, Bill Murray's brother, and Peter Aykroyd, Dan Aykroyd's brother, Daniel Baldwin, also in this. Check it out here.
No, the best one.
Bear with me. Digital Underground, Shock G, the late great Shock G, and Tupac Shakur are in this.
That was the best part of the movie. That was absolutely the best part of the movie. And I think the only reason it got any marketing at all whatsoever. Because, Wes, I'm disappointed in you. Let me just say that. Because you're reviewing the movie. Don't roll your eyes at me, sir. You're reviewing the movie, and you didn't put yourself through the trauma of revisiting it to actually get a good gauge of it. Doesn't. I wanted to like it because I watched the whole goddamn thing. I wanted to like it. There's no point to this film. Like, even in your most obtuse comedy, there's a point. There's no point to this movie. Absolutely none. The bits aren't even that funny. It's almost more of a horror movie than it is a comedy. Dan Aykroyd wrote it, directed it, and quasi starred in it. And I think that's the only reason it got made.
Man, I think you're being
It's probably
nitpicky.
true.
Alan, you were like classic when I said this is it. Buckle
I mean,
up,
it
boys.
is a classic, but it is fucking terrible. And he's right. Like, it does seem like one of those films that was just made for like a random reason. Like Chevy Chase and Dan Aykroyd were like, "Hey, you think we can money grab this real quick? You think this will be a hit? We'll get a hit hip hop artist in here. Maybe appeal to the urban crowd. We'll set it in New Jersey, urban." You know, and then they made it, and they were like, "Nope, this is a big piece of shit."
Oh, and the other big through line that they didn't explain at all whatsoever is like Dan Aykroyd as the judge is like well, back in my day when I lost my leg right in World War One, and they all look at each other like, World War One, how old's this motherfucker? They don't explain how this guy is eternal. They don't explain how this guy's like immortal. And like everything else, like, because she brings up, like, you mean your law's based on the Magna Carta? And he's like, very good, little girl, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, that's the most interesting point of the movie, and they don't explain any of it.
Wait, you don't think it's more interesting that his nose was a dick?
His nose wasn't even real, which makes it interesting that he had a fake nose that looked like a dick, which means he's making his own dick noses up in his room.
All right. What I was going to say is one of my favorite lines from the movie is Digital Underground has to perform the ceremony because they got pulled over for speeding, and the judge is judging them and says, "Hey, if you perform the marriage ceremony between Chevy Chase, aka Chris, and Chris, the female, was it Eldona? He starts screaming at the end of it, tell him, don't leave. And Shock G's like, oh man, it's okay. I was nervous on my wedding day too, man. It's all good. Such a good line.
So bad.
Yeah.
Nothing but trouble. Nothing but trouble. Great movie. Murr doesn't conclude.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. It's like, as much as we just shit on it, I enjoy watching it.
Don't bother. Don't bother. If you're out there and you're hearing this and you're hearing Wes champion it, you're listening to a guy who didn't just watch it versus a guy who did. The only thing good about Nothing But Trouble is when I was finished watching it, it recommended that I watch The Three Amigos, which I'm in the middle of right now. And they're getting ready to take on El Guapo.
Nice.
They just shot the Invisible Swordsman, and that is a hilarious scene in and of itself. That's a great movie.
That is a great movie.
It's not even bad.
It is a great, you're right. That is a good movie. Nothing But Trouble, in my eyes, is a good, bad movie.